Welcome to Luna and the Druid. Today we are on step 18 of the Fool's Journey through the Major Arcana. Step 18 of 21. So we're nearly there. We might get some surprises along the road because we work with many decks, and some decks have so many different approaches to cards that we might have, like in number 14, have a double one along the road, but we're nearly at the end of the Fool's Journey through the Major Arcana. And could we say the worst is over? Whoa, yeah. The Moon card. I think, Luna, you and me, we love this card, don't we?
Oh my goodness, it's my absolutely top three favorite cards
Same here.
out of the entire 78 cards. From obvious reasons and more less obvious reasons, I am very connected with the moon. Luna came out from that connection.
Yeah.
So, talking about the moon card on a full moon day, while we are recording it in lifetime,
Yeah.
it's just it couldn't be better. Universe couldn't orchestrate it in a better way.
Yeah, and we're a bit different probably than many other readers in that perspective, because the moon card, if you look in the booklets and everything, uh, there's of course this dark side of the moon. I'm a child that grew up in the 70s, and our favorite album at the time was Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon, and still a favorite of many people all around the world. And of course, the moon has a dark side, and the moon also represents night, darkness, hidden stuff, things that are not visible, uncertainty, um, even the shadow, the inner shadow. But still, I think these are all elements that bring light, or that within darkness you can manifest light. Light is clearer in the darkness. I on my land tonight, when I have a clear sky, and I live rural, so no light pollution, and when the moon is full, I can read a book outside,
Mm, yes,
because
same here.
in the darkness the moon is so much stronger, that there's so much more light coming in this darkness, because even in the darkest night, the smallest light makes the biggest difference.
Mm. I am lucky enough that my house is all the windows are facing every single full moon rising from. I can see it rising from one side, and I can see it from the most of the time. And in my windows, I have film which gives me rainbow when the sun is shining, and on the during the times when the moon is actually a little bit wider up to the full moon, it gives me rainbow at night as well. There is
Ah,
much moonlight, which is ridiculous, and I love it.
well, that reminds me actually, uh, that about 6 or 7 years ago, I was also in a stone circle somewhere during a full moon, and
Mm.
it was dampy, wet weather, and we actually had a moonbow, which doesn't have the colors of the rainbow, but just has uh, many shades of gray. And I wish I knew, I would have brought a picture. So maybe I can post one later in one of our episodes about the moonbow and its significance.
Yeah,
Um,
please do, because now you made me curious and I want to see it.
oh, the moonbow! It was a special experience.
Oh my,
Um,
I can imagine.
shall we do the history and the cards first?
Yes, let's start with some cards. I
Oh,
have few lovely decks, and I'm sure you have so too. So let's start with the more historical approach.
yeah, yeah. I'll take us through tarot history. I
Mhm.
have, I always start with the Tarot de Marseille, which is this one, and this is
Mhm.
a card, as you can see in the other ones, in what comes next, later and modern cards, the same depiction, the wolf and the dog, or sometimes the two dogs, the crab, the two towers, the road in between. We see that in various other cards, but in slightly older decks, we also see the spinster in the light of the moon, and this is uh, North French. Uh, Slightly earlier than the Tower de Marseille, so very classical, and yeah, still a very mysterious card where the a lady of faith weaves past, present, and future together. Love it. Love these cards. Love these cards. Then the traditional tarot, as they always call it, or people tend to call it, the Rider Waite Smith, with drawings by Pamela Coleman Smith, and here in a more radiant version than normal, so the radiant Rider Waite Smith deck. We see the same things: the crab, the road, the towers, the wolf and the dog and the moon in as the face. Yeah, in a shining sun with many radiance. Same story, but here way more modern in the Tarot Illuminati. And here we clearly see the difference between the two canines, the dog and the dog and the wolf, but still the two towers, the moon, and everything. Uh, a very different approach in the Tarot of the Sevenfold Mystery, where the moon represents is represented by a mermaid, a lady, and of course, and her name is Luna. Hi, Luna. And she brings together the various life phases. The face here of the dog, where its name is appetite, which means it's earthly, and then the faith of will, which is willpower, and the faith of reason, which is spiritual enlightenment. In this card of the uh, sevenfold mystery.
Funny enough, this card represents me just ideally. There is the mermaid, which I resonate a lot with, the appetite, which I'm famous from.
Yes, of
It's
course.
just when I look at this card, I see myself surrounding by dogs in the ocean, out in the moonlight. So no wonder the name of the card is Luna. With
And
this,
the name of the god is Luna, and it's very apt. And I knew I had to bring it.
it's interesting. Thank you for bringing this card because I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. And then my favorite moon card, and um, um, actually, it, I worked on the lessons for the fool, and uh, I have a totally different set of lessons for the fool in this one, because this one, as you can see, has a way different approach. Although we see the tower still and the canines, which are Anubises, and the crab as well. But we also see the sun in the card, because the sun rises above behind the horizons when the night is out, and we see the lunar cycles represented there. So way different approach again, very modern, although it's already 80 years old. So it's we're
Mhm.
not far from a centuries old deck here. Uh, very interesting and a very deep, meaningful card in my favorite deck. So when you get a reading from me and the moon comes up, it's always this card, and I can tell you a lot about the mysteries, the things that the card can tell you, or even stuff that the card will not tell you, which is even more exciting.
Something tells me that we're going to end up making another episode on the moon card, on that specific and particular moon card, knowing you.
In all honesty, Luna, I'd love to. I'd love to. There's
Done.
many lessons there for our full in this.
I love the moon. I can talk about it for hours. So perhaps we'll prepare an extra episode on the moon card, which I'm absolutely looking forward to
On the
already.
12th moon. Yeah, well, let's agree to do it.
Yes. So part one
Part
today.
Yeah, and
I,
part one we have a few lessons. Maybe
yes.
you
But
can walk
before
us
we
through.
go to that, I would like to share my cards.
Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. Boom.
Yes.
There you are. The
Uh,
focus is on you, my dear.
I have six different decks today.
Wow.
I'll start with more of a classical approach, Morgan Greer tarot with the moon card. Very classic. We have the towers here, the dog, the wolf. Nothing unusual here. Old, whatever it's, however it was described by the wider tower. The images are very, very similar. The crayfish in the star tarot, we have same thing but with more elements. Like I have a camera really far from
Yeah.
me, so it's hard to
There's,
focus.
yeah.
There it is. We have the moon here, the owl representing the wisdom, the beautiful cycles of the moon, the road here through challenges, obviously two wolves, crayfish, and the extra crows here as well, but still very classical approach to that. Moving forward, my favorite deck, the Light Seer. I love the moon card in this deck. It's represented by the big moon, the wolves, and the woman drowning underwater, which to me represents the subconscious element, as well as emotional side of the moon. Hello, camera. Please focus. Okay, maybe I'll show the cards later. Um, Full moon, no wonder technical issues. Moving forward, an interesting one here from the Osho deck, which is called actually Past Lives,
Wow.
which is represented here by many people. And there are salamanders, so it's a bit different approach to the moon card. Um, Bringing up what's not seen and not obvious. The subconscious element here comes really strongly. Another one, interesting because it's represented only by the wolf calling up to the moon. It's a winter day, it's cold. Uh, Interesting approach.
Yeah, and
And
of course, Luna, there is this saying, "howling at the moon."
yes, exactly.
This is definitely the card that would represent a werewolf or something in that perspective.
Yeah. And last but not least, I think my favorite image out of all, representing the illusional or delusional side of the moon card. This girl is looking at the water, and what she can see is not actually not the real image of what it is. And we need to remember that the main purpose of the moon is to reflect the sun's light, but very often something gets lost in a transition. The way we see things may not be actually what it really is, and I really love this aspect and this image of the card.
Yeah, that's interesting because already, like, the moon is already a reflection of the sun, and she watches the moon as a
A
reflection in the
reflection of
water.
the
So you see a reflection of a reflection, which is,
exactly.
well, that's delusional.
And that's why I love this aspect, because
Yeah.
as you can see, she is not happy here. She
No.
is pretty lost,
Mhm.
because the moon card, just like Jan said, is has two sides, and we can't see one side of the moon ever. So that's that subconscious, that unseen, hidden, which I love that aspect actually, even though it may be a little bit on the darker side. Um, the path to light leads through the darkness, and that's what the fool needs to learn.
Yeah, yeah. And we have some lessons prepared for the fool
Mhm.
today. Let's go through them. So, first lesson is to embrace the unconscious mind. Second, intuition, finding the unseen, the power of intuition. The emotional cycles you go through, the illusion versus the reality. Creative potential. There's a lot of creative potential in the moon, and of course, again, always spiritual reflection because all the cards uh, teach the fool to reflect on his spirituality. So first point, Luna, embrace the unconscious mind. So the moon represents the unconscious, the dreams, the realms of the psyche. For the full, it is a reminder to pay attention to the messages and insights that come from within. Even if they're not immediately clear, trusting your intuition and acknowledging the power of the subconscious mind can lead to greater self awareness and personal growth.
Mm.
So,
Yes,
in,
and subconscious, I often say, and I often see subconscious as the memory of our body, because within our subconscious mind, that's where we store all the traumas, all the experiences, all the feelings, good and the bad. But I think the uh, what gets trapped usually is those negative emotions, unfortunately. And by tapping into that spiritual wisdom, as well the wisdom of our body and the knowledge of our body, we can actually heal through tapping into the messages we receive.
yeah, yeah. So to me, in especially in this perspective, uh, the moon also works to journeying through meditation and path working, where you deliberately and as a thing that manifests in your life, where you intentionally go into different realms, and where you open the path to the unconscious mind or the higher self, or even the ancestral realms. That's uh, yeah, that's the power of personal growth, the power of understanding, the power of becoming more than you were. um, yeah, I love it.
Mm.
I love it. And
Facing what needs to be
yeah,
faced. Yeah.
yeah. And from there comes the second part, which was the power of intuition.
Mm.
And that's, of course, Luna, where you and I professionally have to shine. We have to. We see cards. We do a spread. We read cards, and we have to tell them, for the querent, for the person we read for, what the cards mean. And we both know that many cards have just more than one meaning. There's cards that have 20 pages in a book, just one card. So you can't tell it all. You have to pick that this is the exact, on intuition, this is the exact meaning of a certain card. So as card readers, intuition is so important.
I don't know how it is in your practice, but sometimes it happens to me that a card comes in and I say that normally I would read this card as this and that. However, right now it feels and the message is completely different. And that's why I always say that I read cards, because I might be drawn to something specific on a card. How many times I will notice something I've never seen there before on that card, because it has a key message and a key meaning for that particular client. And it's fascinating. And actually, we had a conversation the other day with Jan about how we read cards, and we both got to the conclusion that cards are the tool which work like a key. But when we open the door, and the most messages which come intuitively to us, that we are channeling some higher knowledge which comes through us, and the cards are the tools which help us to tap into that energy. And I think that's the best example of how the moon card and the energy of the moon, of the intuition, works for you, for me, and for many other readers.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
imagine.
Yeah,
Mm.
and there are actually reading methods, like it's called the open reading, where you throw away all the regular card meanings and just go for a meaning per reading. And
Mhm.
it's not just about sound bites. I know readers who have sound bites. I call them sound bites. They have 3 4 sound bites for every card, and they just pick them and repeat them all over and over and over again. And I
Mm.
wouldn't necessarily say that it works bad, but it works for them, and probably they get the right clients because the client, is it's serendipity that the client comes there to this reader that has the right sound bites available, and the more and we're cursed by sometimes having the more complex clients that make us go deeper, deeper, deeper,
Mhm.
deeper, and further. So, so what does the fool get from the moon card in this perspective? So that he has to rely on his intuition, and
Yeah.
sometimes he has to plunge into the unknown and the inner guidance, follow the inner guidance, and sometimes logic and reason fall short. And there you go with intuition as a powerful tool to navigate through life complexities.
Yeah,
Trust.
very often the fool needs to learn how to trust that intuition in the first place, not just listen and not just follow, but trust. How many times we feel, we hear that voice of intuition, we hear it, but we don't follow it, we don't trust it. And that's one of the most important lessons, in my opinion, that fool can learn from the moon is to trust and follow and use that intuition as a tool given by the universe, the source, the God, you name it,
Yeah,
and our higher power, our higher self
yeah,
guiding us and directing in where we should go.
yeah, and have faith that you will choose the right path. Have
Mhm.
faith. Yeah, that's it. So next topic would be the emotional cycles, and
Mhm.
that's where my favorite card shines. The waves on top and the waves on the bottom. No other card I know. Yeah, we have waves here as well. The ebbs and flows in life. So
Mhm.
the two special cards of my set today, and it's also with your cards. There are cycles. Life is cyclical. The seasons, the years, the moon cycles, the lunar cycles, the female cycles. They're definitely connected to the moon. So uh, the moon is closely associated with it. It grows, it waxes, it wanes, it grows from dark to light and back again. Uh, and it works on the emotions. What do you say about that?
Oh my goodness, I'm not sure if we have enough time to talk about this topic. Mm. So, what I
It's one
want
of these days. Yeah,
is just like you said, the moon has influence on the water, on it affects the tides, and we as a human body are 70% built of water, and water is the emotions. So the moon will have big influence or on our emotions, and just like you said, it's all very going in cycles. And we can have our ups and downs emotionally, especially it's very because the moon represents the female energy, the women can feel that cyclic nature in so many aspects, physical, emotional. We go through ups and downs, and that murky water, those waves you mentioned, represent that it's not always emotions. uh, are sometimes they will be bringing some turbulence in our life, because emotions can get the best out of us, and they can, driven by emotions, we can do things we normally wouldn't do or say. And I just love emotions. And for me personally, many people will say, oh, I'm a sun sign, this and that. For me, the most important one to know is the moon, because then I know how this person acts on the emotional side, how they feel emotions, how they deal with emotions. And then it helps me to connect with them. And maybe let's not go even deeper, because I will talk about it for the next hour.
Well,
Because
well, in honesty, that's not a big problem. It's just how things work. But we are the moon is full today, and of course,
mm,
it's not up yet. It's not out, but it already influences us.
oh yes, especially that the full moon actually was not long ago, and yeah, I'm very connected to that energy. So yes, grounding is a problem today,
Yeah,
really.
and for
It's
the next
normal
topic,
and natural.
yeah, for the next topic, do you have the card still there, Luna?
I do.
We have the Light Seers Tarot Moon is
Yeah,
now on. It's illusion versus reality.
yeah.
And of course, the moon often warns of deception, whether from external
Mhm.
sources or self deception. And the fool must discern what's real and what's illusion. And
Mm.
that card as well, a reflection of a reflection. It's illusion, and learning to see through these false appearances and trust on the deeper wisdom. So the
Yeah.
lesson, illusion versus reality, helps in developing a keen sense of discernment and self-honesty.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's a good point, actually.
it's a very good point. Yeah, and yeah, in that perspective, especially the Light Seers Tarot and the one you showed. What's the name of the other deck?
Wake Me Up Tarot.
The Wake Me Up Tarot. Boom,
Yes.
slap in the
Well,
face.
well, I can't remember the author, but
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah, the illusion, and that's of course often in a reading, and for the current, the thing is, yeah, is what you believe, is what you think, is it reality, or are you just making things up? Are you facing the illusions, and can you pop the bubble of the illusion? That's the big question there.
My moon is in Pisces, as well as rising is in Pisces. So I'm the master of escaping reality and creating that illusional, sometimes even up to the delusional world. Uh, because that's the nature of the Pisces. They always are higher up than everything. That's why I was laughing before we started recording, that I really feel how the energy of the moon brings me up. My
Boom.
first words to Jan were, "I'm in space." So this is amazing to witness because the card
Yeah.
reflects that, and I'm the best example of it, and I experience it on my daily basis.
Yeah.
Nature I have. So this is an interesting aspect of the moon card itself, because I'm guilty of that.
And the moon is in space.
Yeah, but what
Not
the
far away, but still in space.
yeah, what the fool learns from the moon, and that's what I'm learning on my journey, is to recognize what is the realm of dreams, what is the realm of illusion, and what is actually the reality. Because very often we see things like we want to see them, and it's not necessary how they really are, and that may be a challenge,
Yeah.
especially with when you have a lot of influence from Pisces.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, there we go again.
Mhm.
The moon card rules Pisces. Makes complete sense. The high priestess rules the moon, and the moon rules Pisces
Mhm.
astrologically. So yeah. So our next topic, the next lesson for the fool is to tap in to your creative and fertile imagination. So the fool
Mm.
learns to tap his creative potential, to use his imagination by, again, by intuition, by diving deep, by going deep, by, in this case, often even manifesting the illusion in creativity. And so so he learns that his creative energy can be a powerful force for innovation and self-expression.
And why is it happening? All the moon cards, it doesn't matter which deck is there, they all have one thing in common, which is the full moon. Because the moon is, the image could be waning, waxing moon, but there is a full moon.
Yep.
Why? Because of that illumination. The actual energy of the full moon will help you to tap into your psychic powers. If you will go out and gaze at the moon, especially around the full moon time, you'll be able to activate your psychic abilities even more. You will be able to see colors or receive messages, guided intuitive messages. It increases the magical, the psychic skills and psychic powers within us. And that's why it's so important to me to work with the energy of the moon, especially around this time, because it amplifies everything, because it reflects even more light.
Yeah, yeah. And, and that's where you actually get to our final point, which is spiritual reflection. Uh, we put our stones in the moon. We put our glasses of water in the full moon. Um, did
Full
you
moon
ever hear?
rituals, which we did the other day,
Yeah,
which is actually available on our channel. So please go and have a watch and do that ritual
the
yourself.
full ritual. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Do it
it's
today.
today or even tomorrow, because the full
Yeah,
moon energy is always
it's
3 days.
still
So
there.
one day before the actual full moon and the day after. And this is that potent time of the full moon, where what we just talked about in terms of the our psychic abilities
Yeah,
being more illuminated.
yeah. And I would like we said, we put our tokens, our artifacts in the moon. Why not do a little bit of moon bathing ourselves? Get a
Hmm.
bit of a moon tan.
Oh yes,
I
that's
love it.
I love. I remember one time it was winter. It was a frosty night, and the moon was reflecting the sparkles of the frost. It was just the most magical night of my life. It was cold, but I still went out for a walk, and I will probably will remember this day until my last day of my life, because it was so magical.
Yeah. So yeah. So the moon finally invites the fool to engage in spiritual reflection and introspection,
Mm,
a period of looking inward, allowing him for deeper understanding of his spiritual journey and the mysteries of life.
mm,
Through reflection, the fool gains that insights that are essential for his continued growth and enlightenment.
yeah. Not to mention that the action of the moon cult is always happening at night for several reasons, which allows us to tap in and use our dreams to gain more connection with ourselves, our subconscious, the spirit realms, and the energy surrounding us.
Yeah,
So yeah, many times our subconscious will connect to us through our dreams, and the moon card can help us to receive guidance, for example through dreams. And there can be a great exercise by doing it. It's just putting the moon card under a pillow before the night, especially on the full moon night, and just asking the questions which we want to be revealed for us, like asking for the guidance in dreams to see what needs to be done or revealed, and then work with that dream and writing it down in the morning. There may be a lot of guidance in journaling and in that type of actions.
and with that, our dear viewers, we came to the end of this episode, and
Right.
let's go for number two next week. The continued lessons of the moon card, and then especially focusing on the depth of the Tostero, and maybe you can bring some additional meanings. I have a tot clone deck here, so we can go deeper and deeper and deeper. So let's dive deeper into this highly interesting card next week, and looking forward to see you there. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video if you liked it, if you got in this far, and see you around next week or in our next live show at youtube.com at Luna and the Druid. Goodbye.